Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. Each week we make a video about an interesting Path of Exile character build that a player has submitted. This is the 12th video in this series, and it's about a level 72 Flicker Strike Duelist called Lachdanian. Flicker Strike is a skill that instantly teleports you to a nearby enemy, hitting it with your weapon. If no enemy is targeted, one will be picked randomly. In addition to being a really efficient way to get from one monster to another, it's also pretty defensive because you're often out of the way before attacks land on you. Earlier this year, we changed Flicker Strike so that it has a short cooldown that can be bypassed by spending a frenzy charge. This made the skill much more interesting, because you can either respect the cooldown and use other skills in the meantime, or find a way to get a stream of frenzy charges to bypass the cooldown and attack really quickly. This build I'm demonstrating today opts to use frenzy and a lot of attack speed. The character's passive skill tree build starts in the duelist area and makes its way through the center to the shadow part of the tree. He grabbed attack speed, dual wielding, and sword specialization before getting the Iron Reflex's keystone passive, which converts all of his evasion into armor. In the shadow area, he grabbed almost exclusively critical strike passive skills. This build doesn't really require any niche unique items to work correctly, so it's able to use a lot of powerful rares. Both of these swords are high damage dragonbone rapiers. I really like his gloves actually. They have attack speed, life, good resistances, and item rarity. His belt is pretty similar, though I think the stun duration and flask mods would be better as resistances or mana. The boots are very nice in terms of their defenses and run speed. The stun recovery on them is really important when you Flicker Strike directly into the middle of a large pack of monsters. His other items are pretty similar, decent rares that would have taken a fair amount of effort to find, craft, or trade for. Phase Run is an important spell for this build. It performs two roles, both increasing your movement speed and also making your next attack do additional damage. If you cast it before launching a Flicker Strike, the damage is high enough to one-hit kill some monsters. Against harder hitting enemies, the build has access to Decoy Totem, which distracts monsters for a while until they've dealt with the totem. This character can do a lot of damage very fast if he's not having to tank large attacks that stun him. Both the Phase Run and Decoy Totem skills are augmented with a faster casting support gem. This is a sensible choice. The build doesn't naturally specialize in casting spells, but yet it doesn't want to be vulnerable to interruption and stuns while in the middle of a pack of monsters, so it's worth the gem socket to cut that interval down. The Cleave skill is usually good for dealing damage to a group of nearby enemies. This build has an interesting twist on that skill. The player has opted to reduce the area of effect of Cleave in order to increase its damage. When you Flicker Strike into the middle of a group of monsters, many of them are within the range of the short version Uber Cleave attack. The support gems he is using on Cleaver increase critical damage, concentrated effect, and faster attacks. In terms of auras, this build uses Grace and Hatred. The Grace aura grants evasion, which turns into armor due to the Iron Reflex's keystone passive. The Hatred aura grants additional cold damage, which in addition to killing enemies faster, has the advantage of freezing and shattering monsters. This means on certain maps, enemy necromancers cannot raise their corpses. This build also has access to the Lightning Strike skill, which the player has supported with lesser multiple projectiles, pierce, and the increased critical strike support gems. It's useful for dealing pretty high damage at long range, if the situation warrants it. Because of the emphasis on critical strikes in the passive skill tree, the critical weakness curse and his diamond flask are both very useful when burst damage is needed. This character is powerful enough to handle high-level map content pretty well. While it's probably not the safest hardcore build, it is remarkably fun to play. The author commented that he can play the character for hours without getting bored. I feel the same way, and that's one reason this video took a while to prepare. At the moment, the build is at the top of my list of non-hardcore characters I'd like to try making next time I play online. Path of Exile is currently in closed beta, and will open up for public access in a few months. If you'd like to play it right now though, please buy a supporter pack from pathofexile.com. If you liked this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks very much, and see you next week.